Appropriations and Financial Affairs. And since I've been here, this is my 8th year, I have worked across the aisle, collaborating to maintain a balanced budget. I've understood that even in such collaboration, there will be differences in what our priorities would be and how we would go about being responsible in balancing the budget and preparing for the future of our state. Please don't tell me that this is a responsible proposal. There was a pastor who spoke the other day. I believe his name was Pastor Kelly. And he quoted from Old Testament. He said something that made me stop in my tracks. He was talking about a conversation between Solomon and David and their Lord. And I believe it was Solomon who prayed to his Lord and said, "God, give me the ability to think clearly." He didn't say, "Make me smart." The words that were said were, "Give me a wise and understanding heart." And then went on to say, "So that I can understand justice." Give me a wise and understanding heart. And so I ask you to think with your heart. Is this really a wise idea? Think about the consequences, not of giving back money to the taxpayers, not the idea of increasing circuit breaker, both of which I support, but the idea that there will be a moment, a time in the future, when there will be surpluses, and those surpluses will allow this to kick in, and the income tax rate will be lowered because of that surplus that can be given back. And then no matter what happens the following year, no matter what happens the following year, that tax rate is locked in at that new lower rate. And so the sky falls, there are floods, who knows what, and we have less dollars to work with. So let's think about the consequences of that. First, let me just say that we may agree or agree to disagree because some believe that the role of state government is out of control and that state government can't do it all. And perhaps that's true. This will mean state government will be smaller after that poison pill kicks in. It means that the state government will not be able to do it all. Currently, we are uncertain that we can assure that elderly veterans and other elders living in assisted living will be able to continue to live in their homes, because we don't know if we have enough money to fund the PMIs. Currently, with this current budget, we don't know that we're going to be able to take care of drugs for the elderly, for those same elderly veterans and other elders who will be rationing their drugs or not being able to take their drugs if, in fact, we do not replace the dollars that are missing from drugs for the elderly. Currently, we're uncertain how to pay for the current court costs, and we do not have enough dollars into the defense, into this defense fund. Is that not our job? Are those not our jobs to fund those things responsibly and make certain that in the future we can do those things? Currently, we have a mental health crisis in this state. A family takes their son to the emergency room with a mental health meltdown, and they may have to stay there for several days in the emergency room because all the beds in the psychiatric wards are full. And the reason all the beds in the psychiatric wards are full is because we have cut the community supports. And the community supports, therefore, cannot absorb the people who are ready to come out of the hospitals to overcome their crisis. Do we not have a responsibility to help and the emergency service programs have been cut, and we continue to wonder how we're going to pay for those services. Are we not responsible now? And what will be the consequences of the cuts if we locked in a lower tax rate without figuring out how to pay the bill? Our crime lab has come to us and said that they have an enormous backlog of computers that they have to go through because they need to figure out who the predators are, and there are children and infants in bondage and being snuffed in snuff films or being sexually abused on these videos that are on these computers, and they're trying to find out who and where, who has those children and where they are. Do we not have a responsibility to make sure that that crime lab has the dollars it needs in order to go after those perpetrators and protect those children? General assistance, we're currently talking about cutting general assistance so that the towns and the cities and the state will have to pick up more of the cost. Will surely raise property taxes. Individuals with developmental disabilities. We provide services to the most vulnerable children and adults with developmental disabilities. But when they age out of school now, and they become too large and too difficult for their parents to take care of, they surely must go into a state program that will protect them and help their parents who are getting elderly and can't handle them anymore. Well, no, they don't go into a program. They're on a wait list. So we have 978 young adults who have aged out of special education, who need services, who are on a wait list. And those families, many of them, the Class A wait list, are in crisis. We don't have a place for them because we're not able to afford the money to set up and provide the housing and the staffing to these nonprofit organizations. If we are not responsible for the most vulnerable adults with developmental disabilities and able to care for them and protect their families, is that state government that's too large? I don't think so. Let me tell you briefly about Nancy, the woman who used to go to the church I went to. Her daughter has autism. She was cute when she was 6. She was pretty big when she was 12. By the time she was 16, when she had a behavior episode, she threw her mother across the room. By the time she was 21, she was way too big for either the mother or the father's hand. Are we going to help them? Or are we going to put them on a wait list? You know, when this bill was in front of the committee, some people said that this was going to be for veterans. It was going to help veterans. And you had officers who came in and said, retired officers who said, we don't need this as much as the enlisted men and women who don't have very big retirements. My family was here today. The North Carolina family is more involved in the military. I was a high number of Vietnam, so I did not serve. But I have great respect and regard for those family members in North Carolina, Camp Lejeune. And I also have great respect for the military generals. And one of the things that always moved me is they said the U.S. Soldier's Creed is